Thank you. Good morning, everybody. My name is Jason Lexell from Digital Harvest, and I'm here to speak to you today about internet marketing in my presentation called Strategic Marketing Techniques. Before I begin, I want to thank Air Centers of Florida, Kate Industrial, Air Components, and Air Compressor Engineering for their business. You guys have certainly been wonderful and continue to be wonderful to work with, and I've enjoyed learning and growing from our experiences together. A little bit about me. I started off in this business consulting on the media end. I started selling online media back when I had to explain to my customers what the internet was and why they should be on it. It's kind of flown by here. Companies like American Express, Thomasnet, United's Air Cargo Division, SolidWorks, some software companies, all struggling with how to get customers from the internet into meaningful business leads. Turns out that many of them could get clicks on their advertisements, could bring customers to their websites, and then what? They would leave, it wouldn't convert into a sale, and resulted in me either losing their repeat business or quickly learning how to make it work for them. And more regularly, I started to get brought in to consult for them. They said, well, you know, thank you for all your media help. Do you consult? And I found that very few of these companies had people on their teams that really knew how to ultimately make it work. That's where I started to develop my understanding of the internet. Here's some of the key points, and we're going to have to really blaze to get through these sections. But social media, Google, and its three ways to play, off-site marketing, on-site marketing, using the internet to sell used equipment. And there's a segment I had to cut for the sake of time called feedback. But what I plan to do is to record that as a screencast, and I can send you all an email after the presentation. Strategic is an adjective. One of the reasons this is important is because I know you all are very short on time. I mean, everybody's maxed to the hilt as far as what their responsibilities are, the different things. So strategically, we have to pick which things we can do, where to place the emphasis, and the 80-20 rule on the internet prevails. 20% of your efforts get you 80% of your results. So I continually work with my clients to try and focus on that 20%. Woody Allen said 80% of success is showing up. Well, on the internet, I believe that's true. Your customers, 67% of consumers at least, go to the internet to look for products. When you're not showing up, you're not even involved in the opportunity. And more, that group that uses the internet is graduating into positions where they are buying equipment, making large purchasing decisions. Let's take a walk through these 4 social media elements. I'm going to preface this by saying I talked a little bit with Keith before this presentation to make sure I had things in it that people were going to be interested in, and he said social media. And I was fully prepared to say it's kind of a waste of time for the industrial set. And I'm going to gather facts and I'm going to gather statistics to support that notion so everybody can relax that this isn't. In researching it, I found the opposite. There's actually quite a war going on now between social media and Google. Different generations that are in decision-making capacities today are gravitating, some are gravitating towards social media, others are using Google and search a lot more to make their purchasing decisions. And my goal here is to show you there are some very simple things you can do, low involvement, low maintenance, to get yourselves going with social media and give you a bit of an understanding. Social media is getting harder to hide from. People are looking for people that they can research online. They can get a little bit of background information from. It's not uncommon for a salesperson to leave a call in their company name and then before they get a call back, somebody to go and research them online. And if you're not there, that's a strike. Being the first result in the search engines, if you don't have any feedback and don't have a social profile, can actually be a strike against you. Let's talk a little bit about Twitter. This is one of my favorite ones. It's 160 characters. So the fear of having to write a giant verbose article in order to get it posted is no longer a factor. These are little snippets. It's very easy to use. It's low maintenance. Most of you could get the app on your telephone. And I think a lot of people Twitter with their feet up in a recliner on a sofa during downtime just on their phone. Key vocabulary: follow, followers, tweet, retweet. Essentially, when you set up your profile and people want to start tracking you so your announcements show up when they look at their account, they're following you. That followers count is something that goes towards credibility. Tweet and retweet. When you do a post on Twitter, that's called a tweet. When you read somebody else's post and you say, hey, that's a really good thought, I'd like my followers to hear that also, that's a retweet. You just press a button and it posts and it shows the source where it originated. This is an excellent book, Lead Generation for the Complex Sale. I highly recommend it for anybody involved in multi-stage sales. Here's the author. I've started doing this when I read a book, is to look up the author on Twitter. It's a great place for consultants and authors, and they'll start posting things. And you can see these are very simple little posts. Sometimes 160 characters is not even enough to fit a URL, so they use something to repost the URL that makes it shorter. But you kind of get in their frame of consciousness. Here's another excellent book, Getting Things Done. Fantastic productivity. Obviously, he thinks that Twitter's a good use of time. And posts little bits and pieces and ties it into how it can be used on a day-to-day. Here's a company that tweets, Virgin. And their CEO as well is quite an avid tweeter with a separate account. But this is a good example. When I went to start educating myself on Twitter, which is something I largely ignored, I started following companies that I was interested in. I started following people whose thoughts I was interested in. And I think that's an excellent first step for all of you. Setting up a Twitter account is easy. Go to twitter.com. It probably takes about 30 seconds, and then you can start finding people to follow, and that's where you'll start to get a feel for what makes for good content, what's interesting. Promoting special offers and announcements to your followers. For all of you to collectively have Twitter accounts and be tapped into each other to tweet small pieces of information or to put forth interesting articles that you find so collectively you can advance what your missions are. Learning about your customers. If you subscribe to follow some of your key customers to learn what's on their mind, what their goals and objectives are, the things that they're talking about. Following, as I've mentioned, colleagues and experts. Twitter is, Ingersoll Rand has a Twitter account. And when there's interesting announcements about new products there, YouTube videos or different pieces of information they're posting, you can retweet those announcements to your audience. 40% of tweets come from a mobile device. 70% of accounts are based outside the US. 50% of active users access Twitter on more than one platform. That essentially means they use it on their computer, their iPad, their iPod, their BlackBerry. Less than 25% of users generate 90% of the worldwide tweets, which means the audience is largely passive. You can tweet once a week, twice a month, but I think it's something important to look at. It's very low involvement. I found it to be very educational as I've started to follow companies and thought leaders. I'm going to spend a little time on LinkedIn. In a nutshell, LinkedIn, in my opinion, is very much about the job market. Most people are using it for their professional resumes. People are using it to find new hires, as well as to promote people on their team, the expertise they have on board. Now, I realize this can be a double-edged sword sometimes if you've got recruiters perusing your LinkedIn account. But here's something interesting, and this is pervasive through social media. This is a former client, Pilgrim Software. They're based out of Tampa. They do quality management software. And when I type them into a search engine, it is the second result is their LinkedIn profile. LinkedIn profile. To create it takes about 15 minutes. Put a block of text about what your company's about, your website, some information. These profile pages pointing to your website are something that Google finds very important, very high relevance, and gives you more shelf space, which is something we'll talk a little bit more about. Here's just a quick look at what their profile looks like. They've obviously grabbed some content here. It's typically found in the About section of most websites. They've pasted it in there, their logo. A little bit of information about their size. Some new hires they've posted. Some additional activity. It's very much focused around jobs, job opportunities, finding people. Here are just some key points. Again, they like to see themselves as the professional social network. I haven't found it to be as interesting, but people there are a little bit more buttoned up. It's not as relaxed. It is, you're not going to find a lot of banter like you will on Twitter or Facebook. My suggestion, again, build a profile. Link with some contacts. Most of these social network platforms, as soon as you create it, it's going to ask to raid your Outlook or your Gmail or whatever and look through to see who else is connected and send them all an automated message. There's an override for that. I prefer to selectively go out to people than to do a blast, but it's just something to be aware of. Here's Facebook. Mark Zuckerberg, billionaire at age 23. Most of us thought Bill Gates was pretty young to become a billionaire. What we're seeing here is a real shift to what he's calling the new web, and here's why. A huge portion of the online population is on Facebook. They are trying to map out the relationships between everybody, family, business relationships. Facebook knows about me, that I'm married, that I have kids, where I live, what I'm interested in, groups that I'm affiliated with. Google doesn't know that information. Google knows what I'm searching on right now, not what I'm about to search on. IPO valuation is a staggering 75 to 100 billion. That's going to give them a war chest, and I do think that they want to eat Google's lunch. I see them having a better chance of going after Google's search market than Google going after their social network because it's been established. But, you know, these things are going to play out. In any case, it started off, teenagers friending each other and creating pages and doing posts and things like that, but it has expanded, and it's starting to bring business, B2B, and big decisions on board. Well, it's unfortunate you can't read that, but what it essentially says is 1 in every 9 people on Earth is on Facebook. Each Facebook user spends an average of 15 hours and 33 minutes a month on the site. More than 250 million people access through their mobile devices, and more than 2.5 million websites have integrated with Facebook. This is another key element. I'm going to show you in a second here. My wife and I have 2 little boys, 4 and 5, and we're starting to look at schools. As we were talking about it in a booth at Chili's, We knew that we had to call and make an appointment to find out when the open house was, and so I entered into Google Valrico Academy, and notice the first result is not their website, the second result is not their website, but the third and the fourth are their Facebook pages. So Google is indexing these heavily. Google places high relevance on that component. What's even better still is here's what it looked like on my iPhone. Of course, I had to do multiple screen grabs to get it, but by virtue of them having a profile on Facebook, they get a profile which is web-friendly. Very easy for me to just scroll through it. I know we're all trying to get caught up, but many of our websites don't look this nice or display this easily on a mobile device. I want to use an example. Here's a company called Ritchie Brothers. They're halfway between Tampa and Orlando. They're one of the largest industrial auction companies around the world, one that's done extremely well through the recession. And what I've decided to do here is show you a little bit about their Facebook page. Again, something easy to set up, put a little bit of information about your company. Here's a typical post. They've taken a photo. I think Monday they had a giant auction, and they took a sky photo of that and just posted it. 26 people liked it. 7 people have commented on it and are sharing that information. Now, these are people buying industrial equipment, so that suggests to me that the audience, the B2B industrial set, is online and using Facebook and recognizing it as a viable platform for industrial and B2B. Here they're talking about their online bidding platform. They've just, done a quick post. You can click on that link and get more information about it. 17 people liked it. 1 person shared it. I think what this illustrates is that you can have a little bit of fun with social media. It's not buttoned up. This is not a fact. They put just a simple image that they took from their yard of equipment. They asked their followers to write a caption. 74 people liked it. 39 people commented on it. I mean, what does this have to do with business? It's humanized it. It has made it interesting and fun. Their website may be very corporate and buttoned up, but they're having fun with their Facebook account. They're using Facebook to post YouTube, and that's something that you're going to see as a recurring theme. Twitter, you can connect your Twitter account to Facebook so that when you tweet, it automatically appears in Twitter. If you have a YouTube account, one of the greatest ways to generate traffic to your videos is to post links to your videos in Twitter and Facebook. So they're lacing them together, but yeah, there you go. 64 people liked it, 14 people shared it. In a nutshell, I think there's a very small downside. In fact, what's the downside? The downside probably would be time if it took over everybody's day, which I don't think it has to. It can be managed, but setting up an account is quick, it's easy. Friending different people with Facebook accounts, again, quick and easy. You can post, pictures of your latest installs, new equipment that's come in, notices from Ingersoll Rand, just to kind of get this flowing. But I believe that the people who embrace this early are going to have a sizable advantage. We're not entirely sure where this all is going. I can't promise that social is going to instantly explode your profits, but I definitely see this being something that can no longer be ignored, and that with minimal time investment, you can get on board. Not to mention, again, having a mobile-ready profile showing up in the search results, should your site not be very mobile-friendly. Let's talk about YouTube now. Here's some Ingersoll Rand videos and a recent new web development that we did for Air Centers of Florida. There's now a spot on their homepage to post new videos. We decided to use an Ingersoll Rand video to kick things off. Just some alarming stats: 490 million unique users visit every month, 92 billion page views per month. But here's something that is very important. You can have a website that's nowhere to be seen on the search results and create a video that's well titled, put it on YouTube, and have that video ranking in the search results and driving people to your business. Because, again, by virtue of putting it on YouTube's site, which is a highly trusted Google-owned property, it is Google, actually, now, you're skating on their credibility. You no longer have to build it for your own site. Interesting stat, 1 minute of video is worth 1.8 million words. I did the math. It's true. If you're taking that a picture's worth 1,000 words, a second of video is 30 pictures at 30 frames per second. Anyway, for whatever that's worth. Here's some interesting elements about video. Internet Retailer reports that shoppers who viewed video on Stacks and Stacks, which is a home storage, homewares site, product pages, were 144% more likely to add to cart. Visitors who viewed product videos are 85% more likely to buy than visitors who do not. And retail site visitors who view video stay 2 minutes longer, on average, are 64% more likely to purchase. And I can break it down this way. I'm not sure how many of you heard this before, but people have different learning modalities. There's auditory, kinesthetic, and visual. Text on a page is could be visual. What video does is it brings all those together. People are becoming less patient about sitting and scrolling through a super long article when they can click a button. So more and more articles today are having the author actually just stand in front of a whiteboard with maybe a simple image and narrate the article. Through voice and face and that thing that humans look to interact with, it builds a stronger bond than cold words on a page and stock photography. Some common excuses. I'm no actor. I think it's very much going towards reality. People want to see real, authentic people on the web. Video's expensive. I've made videos before that I've posted and shared on projects using my iPhone. It's got higher definition than most expensive Sony cameras did 5 years ago. People might laugh. Well, that's a good thing. You know, advertisers spend millions of dollars trying to make people laugh and get that connection. For new products, to highlight your staff, talk about your capabilities. Once you start incorporating video, you're putting yourself out there. You're allowing customers to see you in a way that's much more three-dimensional. It's easy to do. Once you get a YouTube account, it's called a channel, you can take videos and simply upload them. Titling is very important. I love whiteboards, and I've been searching for some paint so I can make an entire wall a whiteboard, and I came across this as an example I think is interesting. Here's a company that sells paint and some adhesive whiteboards, giant, that's like a film. You can think of whiteboard meets Post-it. They have got a section with about 8 or 9 videos on it, and after reviewing a couple of different companies that sold whiteboard paint, believe it or not, this connected with me. I saw it happening. These aren't really expensive videos. Maybe that one is a little bit more polished, but simply somebody doing something illustrated a video. And if you think about it, customers that may constantly be calling about maybe resetting, or they're interested in the latest features of a new product, to get one of your staff to articulately walk them through on a 2-minute video taken by a cell phone, or if you want to spend a little extra money, get a camera from Best Buy that can shoot it. It's got a lot of power. We've got this old antique chest handed down through the family that we're using as my son's toy box, and one of the problems is it can pretty much take off a finger because there's no hydraulic close and it's a very heavy lid. So I went ahead and searched safe closing toy chest, and this I'm seeing more and more is Google favoring videos. Again, well titled. You'll notice Google typically will bold out keywords that you search for. Now, their website for their company may nowhere to be found on the internet, but yet I'm finding them through videos. It's like sprinkling food into the search engines and letting it filter up. Here's a website we're about to launch, a revamp for Air Centers of Florida, just an area here where we've integrated their social features. If you were to scroll down, you would see an area for their video components. But I think in summary about social media, this quote sums it the best. A good hockey player plays where the puck is. A great hockey player plays where the puck is going to be. And we don't all know how this is going to shake out. When search engines first emerged as valid tools to find businesses, we didn't know how big they would become. But what I've found is setting up simple profile pages on these social networks, starting to follow them, do a couple of posts. When you have your staff meetings, maybe designate a few minutes where you could talk about some small things that somebody designated on your team could post. This doesn't have to be something where you're logging on every day and checking tweets and Facebook posts, but I think it's something that could be low involvement, will get you on the map, and then as you start to network, you'll find you'll naturally start to accumulate followers and people getting to know your business through social media. I've created just a few steps here to get started. I would suggest creating an email account unique for your social media efforts. Perhaps it's connect at your domain name or get social. But whenever you set up these accounts on Facebook or Twitter, they're going to ask you for an email address, and you know, our inboxes are cluttered enough. I think for the sake of time, you want to break off periods of time to check it and look at it. And further, for many of you who are hiring staff to manage this element for you, you're not going to want to have to give them access to your account. Take a minute and go to Facebook and Twitter, or have somebody on your staff set up an account in Facebook or Twitter. Those are the two big ones. You'll see them everywhere. Once you've got them set up, follow some other people. You don't have to post right away. Follow other people, see what they're doing, learn a little bit about it. You'll get some great ideas. You may find that there's some people out there you wouldn't expect posting some great content with similar interests. When you're ready, make a post. And I think another good exercise would be, once your account is set up on Twitter, connect with 10 other ARID members. Let's talk a little bit about Google. This is a good picture for Google. In my business, it's known as the 800-pound gorilla. Many websites that I work with, it's about 70% of their overall traffic. Search volume funneling through Google fluctuates a bit, but I hear 67%, 75% people are using. I found this picture and I thought it was good to indicate what we're going to see between Google and Facebook pretty soon. There are three ways to play, and I want to start off with Google Local. It's very easy to set up. It's free. They allow you to have listings, localized directory listings in Google. They show up frequently before all other search results. It's free. Then there's Google Adwords. Essentially, that's where you set up a budget to bid on keywords, and every time somebody clicks on a certain keyword or phrase, it depletes your daily budget. And then there's Google Organic. And they call it organic. I guess it's because it's natural search results. That's where you're showing up in areas of content within Google. Here's a map of the page, and I'm sorry I can't get, the Google search bar will be at the top. You've got Google up in the left, but your very first block of results, if I'm searching on, I believe here I typed in Tampa dentist. First three results are Google AdWords. These are pay-per-click spots. Second two after that are the Google organic results. Then you have Google Places, and on the side you have the paid spots. Sometimes these two will flip, Google Places and Google Organic. I'll see Google Places higher. Here's literally how easy it is. Go to google.com/places and get started. The first thing they're going to do is going to find out who you are. You may already have listings that you don't know about, and at that point you have to claim them. Once they have been claimed, you're going to then have to, I would check the information, the phone numbers for accuracy, but you're going to probably also find that maybe some of your more regional offices aren't even included. You'll have the opportunity to add them, and Google verifies in a couple of ways. One, it can, once you've set up the office with an address, it'll send you a postcard with a confirmation number. That takes a couple of days. Other times it'll confirm just the phone number, where it'll call you within a couple of minutes. Google's giving prominence to place pages. Now here's, I typed in air compressor, Tulsa, Oklahoma. And there we have Air Systems and Pump Solutions showing up #1 in Google Places. I just want to point out too here, we're not going to talk a lot about it, but there's Yellow Pages, and I do think when you do a search for keywords you want to be in and you find directories like Yellow Pages, look into seeing how much it is to get there. Google will reward you being in different directories that are relevant to categories you're going after. Now here's another positioning of Air Systems and Pump Solutions showing up in Google Local under Air Compressor, Oklahoma City. Below it, you'll see their organic listing. And this is when we start to look at things like shelf space. I believe you want to have your name there as many times as you can. For Google Places, how many people are familiar with it? Have you seen the localized listings showing up? Okay. If you're in an area that's competitive, you may have 3 pages worth of Google local listings, and they may only show the top 5 in the block, and you'll have to click to see more. So people are now asking, well, how come I'm not A, B, C, or D, but I'm like G or F and not showing up on the home page? In the beginning, Google did it according to your proximity to the city's official center. I know, it sounds kind of arbitrary. They've since added things like reviews. Is there any activity on your profile? Have people given you some reviews as evidence of credibility? Your physical address, is it correct? That's why it's important to claim your listing and verify info. Do phone numbers match? We could probably spend a significant amount of time talking about this one. I know many of you want to track the effectiveness of your website. So one of the ways we determined, and Air Centers of Florida and I had discussed this as being a good solution, is to create an 800 number that only appears on the website. Certainly that would help you determine what came from the web and what didn't. What we're finding is that Google's using that number and sometimes getting confused. If that's not the number you're using in your Dun & Bradstreet listing, in your Info USA data, and other areas throughout the web, it's giving you kind of a disjointed profile. So another thing about that is 800 numbers when you're trying to go after local business have also been proven to not be as effective as local numbers. So get feedback and reviews on your listings. Here's an example of Google's pay-per-click. We've bid. They're showing up #1. And typically, when people are getting involved in this, we suggest a budget of about $10 a day. It works out to $300 a month. If things start going awry, it's not going to overheat, and you're not going to see a bill for $5,000 because they do require daily budgets. As people click that listing, it deducts from your daily balance until you come offline. One of the things that's interesting here is I searched this from Tampa. I put no geographic specifiers, but entered Ingersoll Rand products.
When we set up the campaign, we set it up so that for some of the keywords, it looks and it only pulls, will only show when people originating in your serviceable vicinity search it. So you don't always have to use keywords plus whatever city you're from. $10 a day to start. Focus on just a few of your top keywords, and I would pick, air compressors or Ingersoll Rand plus your main cities. 2 to 4 word phrases work better. Compressor might be a little bit too broad. You could deplete your budget and have a lot of junk, what we call junk traffic. Geo-target the campaign and where applicable, geo-target with your terms. I like to time bracket too. I set it up so the ads don't start until showing until 9 a.m. or when I think most people are going to be in the office. And then they come offline maybe at about 10 o'clock at night. And send people to a targeted page. Just some of the common, the usual suspects we use when going after pay-per-click traffic. And that geo is, fill in your city, your state, your city, your metro area. This is something that we could devote a day to, but I'm going to go ahead and hit on the key components. Google Organic. I really work on focusing pages around 2 and 3 word phrases. If you've got something you're interested in ranking for, create a page for it. Put a link to that page from your main page, whether it be air compressor repair or Ingersoll Rand air compressor. We've also found some ways that Google makes combinations. So we don't have an article that says air compressor Gainesville, Florida. But what Google knows is we do have enough content about air compressors, and throughout the website we have a footer listing our major metro areas serviced. So you can see when Google pulls it in, it's highlighting that there, and I'm going to show you where it appears. This is AirCenter's older website, and we've just gone ahead and listed all the main areas. Google takes those combinations as it finds them. Air compressor, Daytona, Florida. Air compressor, Fort Myers. And it says we've got a match. The beauty is that most of your competitors probably don't have those 2 phrases appearing anywhere on the page together. So when you're the only result that it can see, it generally gives you better positioning. Another strategy that we've used to get more customers and to help convert customers better is what I call flanking. And this is where we set up a website that is extremely focused on a particular area of your business. We're about to launch CNG refueling systems for Keith, and this is the application of Ingersoll Rand air compressors to compress natural gas refueling stations. So one of the things we did, well, we grabbed a domain name that really fit nicely, so Google pays attention to domains. It's easier to rank a site that's got keywords in the domain, we found. And rather than bury this under products, refueling stations, we've decided to give this its very own website in an effort to rank better and help customers find the information. And as you go out on sales calls, it looks more credible than having it buried on a segment of your website. Done the same for AirCenters of Florida, where we actually have a site devoted to their tools. Call it Florida Air Tools. As you can see, ranks pretty well without a whole lot of link building and effort. And we bounce around a bit in the top 4 by virtue of having that domain name Florida Air Tools. We're also bidding on it, pay-per-click. Shelf space. I mean, it's a technique that Procter & Gamble and Lever Brothers uses. When you start loading the deck with different brands or different websites, customers come, they're going to grab something, they're going to make a decision, but it's going to be usually Lever Brothers or Procter & Gamble. We also leverage domain power. Shelf space also, we've found, lends to credibility. I call this a hat trick. We've got Air Components ranking #1 under its paid results, #2 organically, and #1 under Google Places. The odds are high that a visitor, having seen them for the third time, it is going to be perceived that Google is giving this an extremely strong vote, and that lends to credibility, knowing little else about the company. A little bit more about the evolution of organic. It started off, you could load keywords into a page. People put blocks of keywords at the very bottom of the page and repeated them over and over and over again, and that worked. Domains, well, I've shown you some examples where we put keywords in domains. That used to be an ace in the hole. It's still important and it still helps, but it's no longer the end all. And links, which ultimately, getting links, again, still important, but now Google's looking at the value of those links, how important they are, what credible sources they come from. Today, Google is adding these elements. How long did the visitor spend on your website? They can do that with people having Google Chrome browsers. They can do that by their search engine, seeing how quickly you return back to the search results. They can do that if you've got Google Analytics installed on your website. Determine how much time are people spending on your actual website once you've arrived. Are they interacting with content elements? What's the traffic composition? If it's almost all Google organic, sometimes that's a hint that search engine spammers at work. They want to see it coming from different sources. And the involvement in social networks, which is, because of the time involvement, becoming harder to fake. With organic, it takes time. You have to get some good content. Creating it doesn't instantly propel you to #1 in the search results. You have to have some patience. The algorithm shifts. But having good content, having the keywords on the page, well-structured, easy-to-follow pages, in the past 10 years, I haven't seen Google waver from that too much. I'm going to talk a little bit about how we're using the internet to help sell used equipment as well. When I started working for Andy and Keith on their websites, I found that both of them had some used equipment. Usually the used equipment sections on the website were out of date, difficult to update equipment for, and didn't get a whole lot of traffic. So furthermore, when there was 5 listings or 7 listings of equipment, it didn't really warrant somebody going out and really driving a ton of traffic to those listings by chance that they might happen to be looking for that piece of equipment. So we developed a tool that could be used called air compressor ads. This works in a few ways. #1, we can pull an RSS feed from this site, which gives them an easy-to-use mechanism for listing their equipment on their site and keeping that section of the site updated. We're continually working on SEO and pay-per-click to generate traffic for this, because once you have a number of people posting equipment, right now we've got a little over 500,000 in used, primarily Ingersoll Rand units on the site. For the buyer, it's great because now they have a selection. For the search engine, it's great because they can't index 50, 100 people all having small sections on their website. It gives them a collective approach to do that with. Here's some of the recent sales. Tips for selling more equipment. Whether you use our website or not, the tool that we've developed, keep it up to date so that people trust it. Display prices. One of the things I've found is that units that sell the fastest on our site have a price. Units that get no inquiries say call for pricing. I think it's something that I've noticed anecdotally. Pictures as well go a large way. And offer details. When somebody's about to spend several $1,000s on a used compressor, take a little time and tell them, where did this come from? What capacity was it used? We collect many standard fields like hours and those elements, but give a little bit more information about where it came from so people can understand. Here's some of what I call our charter members: Kate Industrial, Air Compressor Engineering, Air Centers of Florida, Air Components. For anybody who wants to try it, we give 3 months free. See if you get some sales on your used equipment. We'll even upload it for you. There will be details to contact me or Caitlin. All right. Here's a very, very, yes? 5 minutes? All right. Yeah, we're doing good. I want to talk quickly about getting links. Many times when you search on key topics within the search engines, you're going to find these pages showing up, in addition to social media pages. Google realizes that these guys also charge money, especially ThomasNet. You're probably looking at a couple of $1,000s a year for a decent ThomasNet positioning. Google knows this, so when it's trying to weed out serious players from people who may just be trying to game search rankings, it factors in who's investing. Again, ThomasNet. Talk about it with your teams. I've found it has a high corollary between high rankings and actually being in their directory. In addition, you'll get a profile page with Thomas, which often will rank in the search results. Linking to each other is a great idea. It carries some value. What we talk about in the business is one-way links versus two-way links. A lot of times Google will devalue links when they see two people simply linking to each other. It says, oh, these people are friends, they've worked out something. But it may give you a half-link score, which is still better than nothing. I talked a little earlier about 800 numbers, and this is something you may want to open for discussion. As a means of tracking, it can be great, but by the same token, when people are looking for local businesses and they see a local area code, it lends greater credibility. Further still, 800 numbers a lot of times convey to people that it's a phone tree. When calling into many of your offices, they're going to get to speak to somebody right away. I believe this is one of our very last slides here. Question about organic content and how much of the Ingersoll Rand catalog should you repost to your website. When we talk about content on websites, it's very easy to look at the Ingersoll Rand catalog and say, well, let's bring this all over. One of the things that Google does is it tracks the origination of content, where it saw it first. And when it's copied to another website, it's duplicate content. Rather than having a full page of Google search results with all the exact same content on it, Google has decided to disregard a lot of duplicate content. So if you're going to bring over information from the IR website, I would suggest adding a bit of a twist to it. Some of your own commentary, having somebody paraphrase what they're seeing on there, maybe mentioning some top brands, but make it unique in some way. That's it. Do we have time for questions? You bet. Doing a link out? If I did, yeah. I think linking out to Ingersoll Rand, I don't necessarily know that that's going to elevate your search. If Ingersoll Rand linked to you, yes. But if I link to Ingersoll Rand, maybe not. When that works is when you've got a website that links out to loads of other industrial people within a category, because then Google thinks, maybe this is a hub. This may be a centralized information hub for this topic, like a directory or something like that. Just a few links out to other sites doesn't generally have a huge impact.
Because we thought at one point even linking to our other websites just
that does help. Again, that's a two-way street. And Google views that as almost like a half point versus a full point. But you get enough half points, as you guys certainly do, and that adds up. It's definitely better than not. Certainly. And I invite anybody, certainly any questions you might have that have come up through the presentation, email me. Find me on Twitter once you get your Twitter account set up, and we can stay in touch that way as well. All right, well, that's our time for today. I want to thank you all very much for being a fantastic audience, and feel free, if other questions should arise, to get in touch with me. Thank you. Thank you guys for having me.